morning, it's Brian here, Art of Startup War. We are back for another week. Again, I have a phenomenal treat for you. You have got a company that we have just invested in, Obscure Games. We love this company. They're coming into the current cohort all the way from Israel. I want to invite the founding team.
Hi everyone, I'm Ayman, the co-founder and CEO of Obscure Games.
Hey guys, I'm Majd, co-founder, R&D in Obscure Games.
Hello, I am Mohammed. I am the CMO of Obscure Games.
Awesome! It doesn't get any more international than this. We have got multiple countries across the world. We've got multiple devices. We got phones to call in from, computers to call in from. This is it, right? So this is truly the way the world is going. And actually, considering that we're in a COVID-19 world right now, everybody's locked in their homes. Nobody can get out. Is there a better time for gaming?
No, actually, it's a great time for gaming. Like, I don't want to say to shed too much of positive side on COVID, but actually for gaming, it helped us gain new users. It helped us help people connect with each other, find ways to spend time at home, and it's actually a great time to be in the game industry right now. It's unfortunate that happened, of course, but it's still a great time for gaming.
Yeah, and I love how you built Obscure Games. I love the fact that while you were building this, you decided to become masters in the game-making process first. I mean, you've been making games since what, 11 years old?
Yeah, more or less. Like, everyone on the founding team had been making games like way back then when they were kids. I started making games in Java and Flash when I was 12, 13. I'm sure Muhammad and Majd are the same. They can tell us more about their journey.
Yeah, it's basically what we've been doing since a very small age. We love games, we love making games, and we gather together just for this purpose, basically.
Beautiful. And when did you know? Like, when did you realize that you were going to take this from a burning passion as kids who'd grown up, like making these awesome games and playing games and becoming experts in the space, to we need to build a gaming development company?
Like, I think, at least for me, I think it was the first time I actually beaten a game from start to finish. Like, I just started to think, how the hell did they make a game? Like, how did they make the characters move on the screen? And I was so obsessed by that. I started reading books. I started asking my brothers, my family, and there was just a bug inside me that always pushed me forward to make games as a living. It wasn't easy. I didn't know how, but eventually all the domino pieces and cards were in place, and we joined the industry full time.
Great. And let's hear from each of the members of the founding team on this point, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, basically, when you play games and you play games for a long time, at some point you start to think about different aspects, different elements in the gameplay, in the design itself, and you start to think to yourself, well, maybe I can do this better. Maybe I can do something that's more fun than what we're doing right now. So you turn around from playing the game to tinkering with the game and changing things inside it, like modding, and then you go into full changing the game and making something that is completely your own. And this is the moment that you just can't look back after this, and you can't become something else that is not a game maker and a game designer and a game developer. It just becomes in your blood, and you have to do it beyond this point.
Fantastic. Is this, by the way, is this how great companies like Riot Games and Activision started? I mean, did you study how they became the monster companies that they are, and then say, we're going to go on a path to follow that? Or was it more like osmosis?
Like, I'm gonna let Hamad talk a bit about Riot Games because he's a huge fan of those guys. But for Riot Games specifically, they started out as mod makers. Like, they were a huge fan of a mod called Dota and Warcraft 3, and they built the company around it. So that was actually the same trajectory as we're doing right now. We all started in the industry as mod makers. And the game industry is built about passions, built about gamers that love their industry, that passionate about their craft, and they started to build their own games, and eventually they became so good at it that they built the whole organization around it. Muhammad, you can talk about more about Riot Games. I'm sure that you have a lot to say there.
Yeah, I think Riot Games started with small gaming team where they were playing, as Ayman said, Dota mod for Warcraft, and then they started their own like gaming at first, and then they were trying to convert the Dota to League of Legends, and they were all hardcore gamers. They were playing a lot and a lot of their own game to bring, for example, League of Legends to this stage right now.
Amazing, right? And then now, any investor who's listening to this, and most of the folks who listen to this podcast are investors that are looking for the next level of X. So sometimes it's gaming, sometimes it's in other spaces, but I think everybody listening would say that Riot Games nailed it as far as creating a multi-billion-dollar company that became bulletproof from the outside. Now they own the gaming space, and they have done for the last, 10 years?
Yeah, more or less. They've been there for a while, yeah.
So next comes obscure games. Move out of the way, Riot Games. Get the hell out of here, Activision, even though I know the founder of Activision. Move in, obscure games. What's the plan? What are we going to do? How are we going to build a billion-dollar company?
Okay, so our plan from day one actually for the team to be profitable. Like since day one, we wanted to generate money. So we started out actually developing services and building games for other publishers, mainly in the hyper casual space, mainly around mobile. We worked with publishers such as Supersonic Games, Candivore, Uzo, Iron Source, and other big companies here in Israel and abroad. We used that foundation to actually jumpstart our operations. We learned a lot of new things. We grew the team tenfold, and we started experimenting with them. And our plan is to use that information, that know-how, that insider information to help us reduce the risk and create games with higher quality, and also to make sure that they succeed from day one, hopefully. So that was our game plan from day one. Be profitable, provide service, know the industry in and out, and then slowly move out towards our building our own IP.
So, by the way, Silicon Valley, I don't know if you heard that, but the first words were be profitable. Okay. So all of those companies over the last 3, 4, 5 years that was super in vogue, building based on products that were unsustainable, unprofitable, on the principle that you just get higher forms of money. What I love about obscure games is that they have the ambitions to be able to build not one, but multiple billion-dollar games, but they built it on the principle of, I won't be driven out of business if we don't raise our next round of funding. We will continue to get better and better and better. We will continue to bring in more and more customers and clients on the development side so that we hone our skills and we make them the very best in the business. And at the same time, we're then going to start launching some of the most epic games that have ever been seen. Talk to us a little bit about, and it might be nice to hear a little bit about from the R&D side, about some of the games that you're looking to develop and the things. And I know some of them will be proprietary, so we don't need to go too deep in, but maybe the principles behind what types of games you're looking to build.
Well, actually, one of our strong skills right now that is in demand in the market for other clients is the ability to create very quickly hyper-casual games. These are the smallest portion of mobile games that you have in the market right now, and they have a very high return rate and a very high change rate, which means that you have to create them really fast, make profit really fast, and then move on to the next title. And this thing allowed us to connect with clients that needed this specific type of game. But this is not the only one we're working on. Right now, we're working on our top secret game.
I love that. Everybody should have a top secret game. This is the best.
It's going to be our flagship title for this year, I hope. And we're working really, really hard to get it to the market as fast as possible as a soft launch title. And I really wish I could show you something, but right now we can't show you guys
No, because then it wouldn't be a proper top secret game. I mean, it would be like a mini secret game, and that doesn't mean anything. So talk about the process of the building and the developing. I love this because like it's proper Quantico, right? You're hidden in a dark room in the back. You're sweeping the room for cameras around every morning when you come in. You're making sure nobody's breaking into your system because everybody's trying to steal it. Like it's the best. But it's also really, really, really hard. So what does that process look like, both from a timing and a development perspective, as far as building a game like this? Because we're not talking, for those gamers out there, you guys know, especially investors, you know that it's millions of dollars. But for other folks out there, that they may think that this is slightly easier than it actually is.
Actually, if we look now at the technologies that are available in the market for developers, I can say that it has become much easier to get into the process of making such a title, but it still gets much harder when you go for the big leagues, when you try to make that one game that will really rake in the millions for us as a studio, as a company. So when we start as a team, because we are all gamers and we are all game developers and interested in game design, we basically do our brainstorming session, which includes actual research of the market using tools that exist. We look through tools that exist at current trends, at future trends, and at markets that haven't been tapped into yet, types of games that people haven't made yet that might have true potential to be a successful title. And from that point, when we decide upon some specific title and specific direction we're going in, we really go full force into making a prototype as fast as possible and try it out with some of our analytical tools to see that it really passes the very initial phase of the fun factor. Meaning that if we can get a really basic prototype that is fun for players, we can move on from this stage to making it bigger and giving it some sort of theme and a level of polish that can be considered something that can become an MVP at some point. And basically, this is the stage that we are 2/3 through right now in making our own MVP for this title, for the current secret title. So I really hope that through this process, we will really reach something that people love, something that people will be willing to put money on and to play for a long time and even pay, hopefully, at some stages in the gameplay loop that we're making.
Okay, and let's stay on this for a second, because what's so fascinating about the gaming space for investors, which is so different than any other space out there, is that word you used, which is fun. Because the moment you tick that fun box, and it can be as random, like folks would have looked at Fortnite, I'm sure, when it came out and said, hey, it's fun and it's good and it's a great game, it's going to be popular. They may not have known it was going to be as popular as it was, but they would have been able to see that there's functionality and psychology built into it, which is going to make people want to play it. However, take Angry Birds back in the day. Like, how do you know? Like, how do you know it's such an early stage that you're going to have a huge hit with something as dumb as pulling back a bird in a catapult and firing the bird at something random, right? How do you know, and how do you continue to like have milestones for yourself going forward to make sure that you haven't received false positives on that fun metric?
A funny story about Angry Birds. This was actually a game that they made after dozens of games that they failed in making. So this one that succeeded basically covered all their previous failures. But in each stage, when they made one game, they basically learned from it and moved on to the next title until they could hit that one title that will give them the real success. In our case, we don't want to, let's say, fail too much. We do want to test early and test very often. That means that we want to make, like I said, the prototype very quickly to see how it goes in front of crowds, in front of players, how players react to it, and then move on and increment upon that, add another level, another layer of our project, and see how people react to that. And again and again, using analytical tools, we would want to create and enlarge our project, making sure that at each stage people do react to it in a positive way, which it can be different measurement types, like retention and how long people play the game, and how often they install it simply by looking at the art style and at the graphics of the game. So there are many points that we can look at in a very, I'd call it scientific way even, that will teach us about the reaction of people to the game and how larger groups that we plan to release to may react to it once we are ready to launch it. So at the moment that we launch the game, we already have a lot of knowledge about how successful it might be. So it will not be just a fluke. It's basically something that we are planning along the way, all these months.
You're continually iterating. And I mean, between the founders, you have over, 40 years experience now that in game making. Like, you've got a lot when you go back into it. So this is not something that you even have to iterate that much on. And I really like how you said that, because that whole Edison model of 1999 ways that a light bulb doesn't work before finding one way that it does work, you get pretty old pretty fast going through that model. While being able to actually look at human behavior and build the game based on the trends that you see coming forward is a much smarter way to do it. And while simultaneously working on other games, which you're doing for clients at the same time, you're on top of those trends all of the time, which is really great. Now, I want to speak to, before we go into the skill of the team, and just where the individual skills are, I want to speak a little bit to the greed for the investors, because we all know when you're investing in a company, there are only three components that matter. There is greed, there is FOMO, and there is timing, right? So greed is, as an investor, I looked at you and there was a moment very early on where I felt greed, right? And greed supersedes all those other feelings. Like, it supersedes the feeling of, it's a cool game, they're awesome guys, I really like what they're doing. Like, there's a moment where it clicks and you go, I think these guys are going to build $1 billion game. And I do not want to not be included in this when they build $1 billion game. I don't want to be his friend telling him well done. I want to be part of the company saying, man, we chose some beasts and we were right. Okay, so greed is the first part of it. And it's always the most important thing for an investor to be able to feel. Now, alongside that, you have to feel FOMO. And again, I felt FOMO because I thought within a very short period of time, you're going to receive a lot of investment because people are going to start seeing the results you're coming through. You're already 2/3 through on that game. Once you go another tiny bit further down the line, you get validation, boom, you get $1 million through. You don't need Expert Dojo anymore for many reasons, right? So FOMO, the fear of missing out, has to be a component. And then the third one is timing, right? The timing of the investor. What other opportunities and what other things are happening that are within the investor's sphere of influence, right? And in times like this, it's crazy because there's all kinds of things happening at the same time. So speaking specifically to that, can you speak to, as a successful gaming company, and we can use the Activisions or any of the other gaming companies as examples, like what kind of valuations can a good gaming company reach if they're successful? And then let's also talk about the FOMO out loud. And then let's also talk about the timing. Like, I want you to go through the same thing that you went through with me that convinced me so well for all other investors who are listening here. Like, how much are you going to raise and why is this the right time to do that?
So I'll talk about a little bit about the greed aspect. If you're a successful game company with a lot of hits, that each one generates about 50 to 60 to $70 million a month, you can have the valuation of more than $1 billion. You can be a unicorn. And the actual stories about an example is Playtika, an Israeli company based in Herzliya, Israel, made an exit to a Chinese consortium for about $4 billion or 4 point something $billion. Zynga is the same spot, more or less. King was bought by Activision and more than $1 billion as well 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So if you can find a hit title that can generate upwards of 50 million a month, you're basically a unicorn. And it doesn't stop there. the fun part, the amazing thing about gaming, that it doesn't require a lot of resources after you launch and optimize the game. You can have a team of about 20 people making sure the product keeps generating that sum of money while you're working on other titles, and you can expand your portfolio and build like seven or eight or even 10 plus games, each one generating more than $1 million a month, and you can be great successful. That's basically unheard of for tech companies. In tech, it's it's scalable, right? But it's not in the same way as gaming. Once you find that hit title in gaming, you're basically set. You're basically on the right path to become a unicorn. So that's basically about greed.
I feel the greed. Talk to me about the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Like, so what is there with the timing right now for the raise that you're doing that's important for investors?
So as mentioned before on the start of the podcast, right now during the COVID, it's the best time to be a game studio. Like, we have a lot of people that are stuck at home with nothing else to do, and they're hungry for entertainment services and products to use. And for games are the great value for money. Like, there's a lot of free to play games on the market right now, a lot of shit games that provide you hours upon hours of entertainment and also help you socialize with other people. So actually, if you look at the data, you can see that during the recession, during the quarantine, the PlayStations and the number of installs per for the hit titles actually grew by more than 20% during the quarantine, because people are so excited and so hungry for games. And those people, there are a lot of people that decided and were new to gaming, will stick to the industry, will keep playing games, will start to monetize and spend some of their money, hard-earned cash, to buy items and buy new titles. So I don't want to say it's a boon and it's a great time. The great thing that COVID happened is unfortunate, but for gaming and other, it actually helped us a lot to expand our audience and gain new people.
And I'm going to layer something else in here for investors. Gaming has a challenge for investors that other technologies do not. With other technologies, it's very straightforward. Like, you go through a pre-seed, a seed, a Series A, a Series B, yada, 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 right? You watch the company as they grow. You see how much money they raise. You then allocate that money to a cost of Facebook ads or whatever medium that the company are using to grow their size. And then you can equate this. And as you equate, maybe at the beginning, the valuation is 5 million, then maybe it's 10 million, then maybe it's 25, then maybe it's 40, and so on and so on. But you follow the company. The challenge you have with gaming is that, let's take Fortnite and go back to that. Between a Monday and a Tuesday, the company is going to go in valuation from a $15-20 million valuation to a $200 million valuation between one day. And it's going to happen because the game has hit the market. And once the game has hit the market and you can see what's happening with it, then the future is known. And you can see it within a day what the future is going to look like. So you miss opportunities very, very quickly. For me, in a situation like this, when I see this game, everything for me is on the skill of the founders within the gaming space. It's 100%. I used to, in my more naive days, when, especially in the gaming space, I looked at the attributes of the game. And I would say, what are they building? Is it cool? Is it fun? Is it going to be, are people going to like it? Would I like it? Like, how interactive is it? Is it something that folks can play against each other all over the world, et cetera, et cetera? Today, I don't look at any of that. Today, I just look at, do I have superstars in here where the time has become right? Everything is aligned. It's in place. The company have everything that's necessary to go forward, both from a cash flow perspective, because I got to tell you, investors, whether you put money in or even if we hadn't put money in, they were going to build this game anyway, right? So cash flow is not a reason for it not to happen. And I'll tell you another thing, whether this game is successful, it doesn't even matter. And I say this as someone who invested literally less than a month ago. It doesn't matter because they're going to build another game and another game and another game and another game. And even if the Edison method is not the preferred method, One thing that I know these founders will not do is allow themselves not to build a breakthrough game. So I say that from me, not saying anything nice to you or saying it. It's because I believed it when we were making our investment decision. But can you speak a little bit, and maybe each one individually again, go through the experience of the team and why your specific skills are so uniquely important to the mission that you're on right now? And I also want you to build an emotional part into this too, about what this means for you personally.
So I started as a gamer, hardcore gamer. I love games. This is my passion to play games. I play games every day for tons of hours. So I am the chief marketing officer for Obscure Games. But I develop games too, and I started as a game developer, but I moved from a little bit from game development to market games. So the first game that I created was League of Guessing. It's a game based trivia game based on League of Legends API, Riot Games, and it's a trivia game that got 3 million downloads. So what's special on this is because I played League of Legends a lot, like so many hours, and I got into the community, and I managed to create a community on Twitch and on Facebook with 240,000 followers. And then I created the game that they want. How did I know? It's because I know the community and I know what exactly they want. So I know that they want a trivia game. I know they want something on mobile. And that was before Riot Games decided to join to enter the mobile industry right now. And that's it.
Beautiful. So this is your world. Who wants to go next?
Well, we've been doing this for a long time. And I remember once we talked to a potential investor maybe a couple of years ago, and he asked, why are you guys keeping at this? And really, all I had to say to this is that we are intent on making a hit game, at least one hit game, and we'll make the hit game that is following this one and the one after. We are not stopping. We're in this for life. We're in this to make it big. And it's been in our hearts since a long time ago, and it will stay like that. I would say I have a fire inside, and I'm sure the others have it too, and we want to make these games. We love making them, and we're going to make them successful.
Beautiful.
No way around it.
So basically, Majd and Muhammad said it perfectly. Like, we all there's nothing else we can see ourselves doing besides games. Like, I don't see myself working in tech. I worked in tech before. It wasn't fun. I just want to make games for a living. So regardless what happened, even if our cupcake title doesn't flops and doesn't do well, we're gonna keep at it. We're keep building games, and as a team, we're well positioned to do that. We have a great CMO, great marketer. We have an amazing R&D and product manager, and I'm good at operations and optimizing KPIs and making sure our retention and monetization metrics hit a goal. So, and we also have other team members on our team. We're basically well positioned to make a game. It's just a matter of time. So we're going to keep at it, keep developing games, keep learning game by game until we reach our hit title.
Beautiful. I love it. I can't think of anything better. I also think, for any kids listening to this, they're like, wow, there's a job which is chief marketing officer where you get to play games all day and then tell other people about it. Is there a better job on the planet? So I love it. I love what you guys are doing. I'm entirely bought in. Share us a little bit just to the end of the podcast here, the terms that you're looking for. We don't have to talk about valuation, but we can talk certainly about what you're looking to raise and then what that money is going to be used for.
All right. So we're looking to raise a seed round of up to $2 million. This will help us scale our team, build a great marketing department and a UA department, hire more talented developers and artists, and also have a few tries on our games. Like I said before, if the first game doesn't succeed, we're going to try again. So having that seed money will allow us to spend more time prototyping, try new things, experimenting until we find that core of a great gameplay that we can expand about and grow it to generate millions of dollars each month.
Beautiful. And then I want to just provide a little summary from my side again, if I haven't done so enough. And then I would like to share on just your email details and everything so we can get that out. So investors, number one, a company that's not going to dilute that much because it gets profitable. You have no concept about how much money these gaming companies can make once they get a hit. Number two, a really well-established gaming house that has decades of experience in building games. Number three, a well-distributed team. They've got cover on marketing, they've got cover on operations, they've got covered on tech. Number four, they're already building games for clients, which clients are paying for and they already love. Next point, they're already 3/4 way through the first game that they're going to launch, and they did that before they even took any good money. So they're very, very fiscally responsible. And you have one of the most motivated and brilliant groups of people from a nation who are known for being able to build phenomenal product at a really, really low cost. So you nail all of the areas for me. For me, it was the simplest decision in the world to make an investment decision on you. I cannot wait to be a part of helping you build the games that you're going to build. Fill in anything that I left out, and then also share contact details so investors can get in touch with you.
I think we covered most of it, to be honest. We spent an hour talking about how great obscure games, how great the industry is. I said before, it's the best time to invest in gaming companies, period. If you have any doubt and wanted to invest in gaming companies before, but you were too afraid, you thought it's about too hit-driven, now is the time. So if you have any doubt, you can rest assured that it's the best time in history to invest in games. If you want If you want to reach out, you can reach out at Ayman at Obscure Games, Majd at Obscure Games, or M. Bushnak at Obscure Games. You can Google us, Obscure Games. You can find us at top results. We're available on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and basically all over social media.
Great. And then, of course, investors, as always, if ever you just want to grab us and shoot an email to me so I can link the guys in, I'm very happy to do so. Brian at expertdojo.com. Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure. It is going to be a pleasure. We are going to build something phenomenal. I will be your meager and humble assistant over here, helping you get into that great place of greatness. I thank you for being on the podcast and for doing all the brilliant work you're doing in the gaming space.
Thanks for having us.